functions. I go to command line here and I can say Firebase Deploy, and it will deploy the hosting and the cloud functions. I don't need that. I already deployed the hosting, right? So I could just say only functions, right? And this is only because I have hosting and functions in the same folder that I have to do this. If I just had the functions, I could just say Firebase Deploy, and it would just deploy them. But here I'm just saying Firebase Deploy only the functions. I could, if I was working on the website and the form and doing both, I just say Firebase Deploy and it deploys both, right? So these functions, cloud functions, are a way of basically building out like an API or backend with like single use functions, right? These are basically little API points, but you don't need to build out the whole API. You don't need a whole server. You can use these single use functions. And what they do is they just sit there idle, and when you call them, they'll turn on and scale as fast as you want. So these actually take take a second to deploy. But let me show you something here that actually, let me wait for them to deploy. Oh, I know what I could show you. In the meantime, I told you I was going to tell you how fast, just how crazy fast Firebase hosting is. So how many of you have ever heard of the command hey? Anybody? I can't see, I can only see a few of you here at a time, but
hey,
anybody ever heard of this?
No.
So hey is a really cool, it's written in Golang. It's this really cool tool that allows you to do load testing. So I'm going to say open up 100 connections, and I'm going to say run this for 30 seconds and hit this URL, right?
Wow.
So it's going to 100 connections at a time start hitting this URL, and you're going to see, whoa, I typed something wrong. -C number of workers. Oh, -Z, sorry. -Z is the duration. How possibly could I have confused that with -T? So I'm doing, hey, -C 100 for 100 connections, -Z 30S for 30 seconds, and then giving it, you can do post requests, you can send data, you have like, it's a really robust tool, but this will take 30 seconds to run. And what it's doing, 30 to 31 seconds to run. And what it's doing is it's opening 100 simultaneous connections to this site and recording how fast it gets a response from this site, okay? And then it gives you a histogram, it gives you all the stats, right? So it ran for a total of 30.1 seconds. The slowest response was 1.68, right? Which we'll break this down in a second. But it was able to process 4,700 requests per second, right? The average was 2/100ths of a second, right? And here's the histogram. So, well, let me jump to the end. It made 141,000 requests in 30 seconds, and 141,000 of them were in this, in this range of under 0.177 seconds, right? If I do the same thing, to, I don't know, let's pick on somebody. Give me a website. Oh, how about BocaJS.org?
Yes.
Right? Let's see how that does.
Let's see it, baby.
So this is going to take, 30 seconds to run, and it's pounding. So you see this did 141,000 requests per second. Let's see, where's BocaJS hosted?
It goes in the GitHub, so it should be fine. Let's find out.
Okay, yeah. So GitHub, I mean, that's pretty robust, right?
That's huge. It'd be huge.
Yeah.
Let's see this.
So we can do a comparison.
It's a good comparison because it's
half as many responses.
What?
Half, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Here I got 141,000. Let's round up to 142,000, right? Because it's 141 and 2/3. Here it's 73,000 responses.
That's amazing.
Half as many in the same amount of time.
Do
That's
you know,
nuts.
So
do you know what what language Firebase is written in?
it depends on what part of it. I don't though, but I mean, no, I
Well,
don't.
you mean the
A lot of
CLI
it's in
application?
JavaScript.
Well, if you're doing like requests on it, I guess it would be for the database, right?
No, so this is different. We're hosting a site, and what's happening is even when we had 100,000 requests coming in, it was able to scale and handle all of those requests and send a return. And one of the things I want to point out that GitHub is doing amazingly here, Damien, is there was no drops. Look at the status code distribution. Every single response from Firebase was a
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
Also the same. And I have seen for very robust infrastructures where even with 10,000 requests, I'll get 100 that failed out of 10,000.
Yeah. No, but it should be. It's GitHub Pages, guys. It's the guy again. I'm using the word guys. It's all you guys, all you peoples,
Humans.
the humans. Thank you.
Souls, whatever.
And it should be amazing response. But even then, I mean, you know, it's Google. It's Microsoft. I'm quickly trying to find you a website that's hosted by different things because now you got me wanting to test this. This is amazing.
Well, Hey, you can find Hey on your own. It's very easy to find, but I want to flip back. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a question about this. So basically, because I'm just like from a perspective of how quickly it loads, like it's testing how quickly the page loads, or
That's right.
It's testing how quickly it's getting a response back from the server.
from the server.
Right. So it's going out to to the server and waiting to get a response back. So
Okay.
it's not, you can request like the whole page. So you can do testing on, you know, to see how a page loads, but this is more for like load testing for like an API or something, right? How many requests per second can your API handle, right? How many requests per second can your website handle? Because for me, I build a lot of React applications, right? So for what happens when you come, like when you go to bocacode.com, you're requesting from the server the entire Boca Code React application that gets downloaded and run in your browser. And then as you're clicking around, you're not even touching the server. It's all happening inside your browser, right? But that original request, how quickly does it start loading and start downloading stuff from the browser, you know, depends heavily on the server, right?
Okay. So it's
so
just varies by host.
It varies, yeah, it varies by a lot of things. Infrastructure, the speed of my internet, the traffic on the internet, all kinds of things,
Okay.
right? So if you run the same test in the morning, you know, you might get 200,000 instead of 140.
Okay.
So, yeah. So let me just, you know, just because I want to wrap up. So we left off here where we were deploying those two functions, right? And if you come back here to your Firebase project and go to functions, right, it's going to show you your two functions. Ah, son of a bitch. Sorry. I always forget this. In your package JSON, you want to, I don't know why they have it still defaulting to node 8 when node 8 is deprecated. So, you know, I always forget to change that until the first time I deploy, and then it tells me, hey, why are you using node 8 still? I'm like, because you told me to. So anyway, while that's deploying, let's just look. So now I have these two functions where, you know, I have hello BocaJS and hello world, and I can hit them from anywhere. I can hit them from a API, make an API request, whatever. But here it just says hello, you know, hello BocaJS from Firebase. If I say hello world, I get the other response, right? and it's super quick. It's always available. But I also wanted to show you, just connecting this back to the beginning of the talk. If I go into my Google Cloud Console, right? Because this is in my Firebase console, and I have these functions, and it'll tell me, it'll keep logs and usage of them and all kinds of things, like tell me invocations, et cetera, et cetera. Let me see if it finished. It's still not deployed. But if I go to the same project in, which it should be here, BocaJS FB, I go to the same project in Google Cloud, which now in Google Cloud, I've got the world, right? I've got App Engine and Compute Engine and Cloud Functions, which we're going to look at in a second. I've got all this storage options, networking, all this stuff, big data tools, artificial intelligence tools, Google Maps, game servers, all this stuff. But if I go to, if I go to the Cloud Functions, notice I see hello BocaJS and hello world here.
Fantastic.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So my Firebase functions and my Google Cloud Functions are the same, right? So I just basically deployed Google Cloud Functions via Firebase. And if I go into this hello BocaJS, I can actually see, get stats on it. I can see what the trigger is to call it. I can look at the source code of it, right? And you can actually, if you haven't played around with this before, in Google Cloud Console, you can create a function here by clicking Create Function, right? You give it a name.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Oh my.
Something else. Do you want to know what cloud functions are?
Oh my. See?
My smart speaker hears me saying Google Cloud Functions, and it's like, oh, do you want to know about Cloud Functions? So just real quick though, here I hit Create Cloud Function. I give it a name here and what function to execute, and I say create. Right now, I can't call this hello world because we already had that. Let's just call it hello, right? And tell it to execute hello and say create. And now I just created another cloud function right from within the Google Cloud Console. And I can edit the code here in the console. And Google allows you to create them this way. They allow you to create them from command line. They allow you to, here, now when I reload, this won't say node 8 is deprecated because now I'm using node 10. There we go. And look, I have even my new function here as well, right? So the Google Cloud Functions and the Firebase functions are one, right? It's just, two ways at the same thing. And in Google Cloud, you have access to all of these other things, like, but this hosting is different than the way Google Cloud does its hosting. This is a new option, and I think it's awesome. So that's what I got for you guys. I appreciate your time. I'll open it up to any questions. Please check out our new website. It's it's been a passion project of mine. And oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Larry's question. Can functions be accessed via custom domain as well?
That's a good time to ask those.
Yeah. So, yeah, that I have not figured that one. The answer is yes, Larry. It's not as easy as like adding a custom domain to Firebase hosting. What you basically have to do is you have to create like an API layer and give that a URL and then use these functions under that, I believe. I have never done it because it's never, usually these API points are being fired behind the scenes, right? Like by your front end, right? Or by an application. You're not like sending these URLs to somebody, right? Unless you're creating like an open API and you want people, to be able to share that. So in which case, you would want to use a custom URL for sure. I don't I haven't done that. I have, but it was, you know, wrapping it in a whole API.
Fantastic.
Anybody else?
You also had another question about, oh, you guys, you dropped, hold on a second. I had it available.
I stopped sharing just so that I could see
see
everybody's
us.
faces
Oh.
and
Hi.
and the chat a little better.
Oh, who are those two guys
Thanks,
at the
Alan.
bowling alley?
I don't know
All
if
right,
Alan
so
left, but
yeah. So we had a question: custom domain names. Oh, someone was mentioning Apache Bench. I've seen different software. Thank you, Todd. I installed that. Hey, I know.
Hey
there
is
was
awesome.
Yeah, I installed it. I pointed a bunch of different things. So I have some $5 servers, and I wanted to see how they did. They didn't do too bad.
Yeah.
26,000, but definitely much less than, of course, than Google Cloud. And I had never done that test. I'm really impressed. You've mentioned it before several times, Todd, how fast Google Cloud is, Firebase as well. But
It's hard to beat. So we created at my photo, we had a DevOps team come in and build us an entire, and I worked with them. I worked firsthand with them. We built an entire infrastructure with Docker and Kubernetes and using their compute engine instances. So we had multiple compute engine instances running all over the country, and we deployed Docker little pods through Kubernetes that would auto scale, and it was like this massive infrastructure modeled after Netflix, actually.
Right.
We weren't using Spinnaker yet, which Netflix uses, but essentially it was a baby version of Netflix.
But you were doing so to spread the load throughout the United States, or faster response
to have
times?
so the reason we had multiple it was for high availability.
Yes.
Right. So you have multiple regions for high availability.
Right.
And then we had multiple instances within each region for to spread the load, plus they automatically scaled.
Right.
And I used Hey to test on our API. I tried running it, and and then I tried doing it using Firebase. So automatically managed by Google versus what we built. Our attempt at building this massive infrastructure.
Right.
And what you get out of the box in Firebase scaled and responded much faster than what we spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars building. And and the good part of a year. So
I absolutely
love it.
That is amazing. That is just truly amazing.
Do you know if
go ahead, Larry. No. Go ahead, Larry, please.
Do you know if Firebase has the concept of teams?
In what way?
Okay, I'm working on an application with a designer, and he wants to be able to access some types of resources in the project. Or I'm building this out for a client. I want the client to be able to have ownership of all the resources, and eventually maybe you'll be able to give me the boot.
Right.
So that type
under users and permissions here, it's a little, so Firebase takes a little bit of a simpler approach than Google Cloud, right? So you can do this at the Google Cloud level, and you have like your full IAM permissions and everything. But what I would do if I were doing this in Firebase is I would say add a member. I'd put in, Larry Kagan at gmail.com or whatever my client's name was. And the client, I would make an owner, right?
That's exactly what I was asking for. Yeah, that's
right.
Exactly
so that eventually they could kick me out, right? And then, somebody like my designer, I might make only a viewer, right? That only has read access to the resources. my other developers, I make editors, right? So it's very simple permissions. It's not like your typical cloud infrastructure where you have like these IAM roles and you have to assign different roles and all that stuff. It's just dead simple, which is
Well, it
good
seems
and
that's
bad.
the whole point of Firebase, is to make it an easy entry into the platform.
Exactly.
Right.
And now you have the full power of Google Cloud, the full Google infrastructure behind you with this like stupid simple easy interface. But the thing about it that I love is that you can enter in through this really easy door, right? This is like Fisher Price, my first cloud platform. But you have the full power of Google. So it's not like, oh, sorry, your project's gotten too big, Larry. Time to move over to Google. You're in there already. You've already got it. You've got the entire Google, ecosphere here, right? And if these permissions aren't complex enough for you, you switch over to Google Cloud, Google Cloud Platform. You go to IAM, right? And here you have organizations and all the roles and all the crap that you're used to with an enterprise level cloud system. You've got both, right? You've got both. So if you're looking at this and you're like, what the hell is IAM? What the heck, what are organization policies? No worries. You go over to Firebase, you just choose owner, editor, or viewer. Very simple, right? You put in their email address and you add them. And I did this today. I had my developer on our Boca Code website. We have a dev version of our Boca Code website. And I was like, that's yours. So I added her to it. And like literally she said, Firebase Deploy, it didn't work. I said, oh, sorry, let me add you to it. I added her. She said Firebase Deploy and it worked. Like it was instant. It wasn't like she had to go accept an invitation and go through all of that. It was just, I added her and then right from command line, boom, it worked. She was able to deploy. So really, I can't, I hope that what you guys, what I've explained clearly enough, maybe not the exact way to use it, but at least giving you this picture that you've got this full enterprise level cloud system that you can use in as easy a way as any of the easy entrants like Heroku.
A lot of these features, are they recent additions to Firebase?
I believe
I think so. I remember when Firebase was just a database, then they started doing the hosting, and then they started doing authentication. And then when Google bought them, they started adding a lot of things.
What's interesting is when you go to database now, they're pushing you to Firestore, which is like the grandpa of Firebase. And it's like, or choose the real-time database down here. Yeah. And it's like and for most projects, actually, Firestore is a better option. So I understand why they're pushing you in that direction, because what happens is if you go into Firebase and you realize the limitations of Firebase, it's a pain to then switch to Firestore, right? Whereas if you just start in Firestore, it's easy. But yeah, I think they started with just Firebase. They've added in Firestore. I think the authentication they added in pretty early, which is really awesome. Yep. You can, you can very easily add, and I demoed this to Dennis last week, authentication on your website with, just click enable, and now you can log in with username and password, and you don't have to set up an API. You don't have to set up a database. It's all done for you, right? And you get, you come here and it'll show you your users and when they last logged in and all of that stuff. And you can also add these other things like, log in with Google, right? And, oh, wait, I just have to pick my email address and hit save. And now I've just enabled login with Google on my website, right? And they have all these other, like, including GitHub.
Or Apple.
So really awesome features, machine learning, all of the analytics and everything they do. It's really quite impressive. And, you can click track everything that people are doing on your website. It's connected with Google Analytics, but it's got even more when you're hosting with Firebase. It gives you even more power than just the Google Analytics.
So this is geared towards static sites with some functions. Is that right?
Yes.
Like there's nothing. There's a node backend for functions. There's nothing. There's no other backends, right? Like I can't write a Java app and have that run as a function on this, right?
No,
This is not that.
they support several different languages.
Do they?
I can tell you that. So functions, I think, support C#, Java, I think Python. I don't know if they support PHP. Do you know if they support PHP? Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, good.
In these functions?
Yes. Yes. My understanding is that you have a lot of different environments that you can actually choose.
Well, let's see here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go. See?
Go,
There you
Java, Node, and Python.
Yep.
And no PHP.
No PHP.
PHP.
Yeah. I saw something, and I believe they have an infrastructure for functions in PHP. I
think if you want to use PHP, you have to use their compute engine. Their compute engine is basically you create an instance of a server, essentially. Firebase, to answer your question, Larry, I'm hesitant to answer, and here's why: is because when I first started looking at Firebase hosting, my understanding was it was for static sites, and so I did all of my server-based API type stuff I hosted in another way. But if you Google like Firebase hosting, and you go to their, at least to their like sales, that's not their sales page. That's the docs page. Whereas, so yeah, here we go, hosting. So if you go to the hosting, it does say, well, here it's like SPA, mobile landing page, progressive web app. But somewhere I saw that you could do dynamic content. And I think that's new.
Well, we saw that it was in functions.
Yeah, but I think that they're adding that capability, Larry, to hosting. So, I'm afraid to say you're right. You can't host like, your node, server here, but I think they're moving in that direction.
Interesting.
I've got a question.
Sure, Craig.
I saw a note on there. It said free SSL for custom domains, and I remember during your demo you were saying that you had the certificate already there, and that's kind of interesting to me, since I'm like working with PWA, and I had to buy the certificate. So you're saying, if I've got my own domain and I want to make the progressive web app work, which of course needs a certificate, it's just going to be available to me out of the box? Is that?
Yeah, you just put in your domain name here, right? Like www. whatever.com, right? And and then once you verify it, once you verify the ownership, which, like I said, if you've already bought this domain through Google, you can skip that step. You hit continue, and it'll, like when I hit continue now, it's gonna check and see if I own this domain already, if it's listed in my Google domains. So I think like if I were to type Delray Code, which I'm pretty sure I own, and I'm pretty sure it's in my Google domains, and I say continue, it should skip over that verify step. And okay, it's not. It's asking me. Oh no, it's
skipped it. Yeah.
It
skipped it because the checkbox is there. You're right.
Right, it's verified. So now it's saying just add these A records and finish.
But don't go to Delray Code, guys. That's the competitor. Go to Boca Code.
So what happens is as soon as I add those A records here, then, you know, which right now it's not working. I have to go in and add those
I understand,
records
sure.
to my DNS. It will then provision an SSL certificate for this automatically. It'll automatically manage it, keep it up to date indefinitely. Even if the domain is not owned through Google Domains, which is mind-blowing, right?
Right. Yeah,
They're
that's
just
a
like,
great
okay,
value.
you're hosting with us, we'll take care of your SSL certificate. And it's doing it at the free tier, right?
Right.
It's,
Yeah, that's
Unbelievable.
amazing. That's actually really
I mean,
impressive. I've never heard of
it
that.
is, these services I have yet to see their equal, to be honest. And you know, I'm not like a full-on DevOps guy, so it's
Uh-huh.
not like, you know, I'm spread a lot wider than being super narrow focused on all this DevOps, which makes this so great for me. You know, one of my good buddies who's a DevOps guy, he glances over this, he goes right past it, he does his own thing. And I'm like, you're missing out. You know? But I think this, you know, I think for most of us, this is the answer right here. But, you know, again, I'm very opinionated here. So,
Right. Yeah, thanks.
you know, I really encourage you to do some research and check it out. But, you know, and like, you know, like Larry said, it's not for every project. It's not going to work, you know, for every situation, right?
But having that path to grow just be so easy is pretty awesome.
You're right.
It really
You're
is.
absolutely right.
You know, just okay, you need more? Here you go. Go to cloud platform and you're done. You're ready to go.
I have a $10 million a year company e-commerce platform that I'm running solely in Firebase now.
Nice.
You know, well, I mean, I've
Free tier,
kind
right?
of, what's that?
I said the free tier, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, they were prior to moving them to Firebase, the server costs that they were hitting were over 3,000 a month. And it's in Firebase, it's under 1,000 a month for the same, you know, and
That's nuts,
it's
yeah.
lower latency and
Yeah.
scales faster, and you know, the performance is off the charts. So,
You know, I asked you earlier, you know, what I know you mentioned it already, but yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. You know, Firebase is that, you know, you're going to get the same backend. You're just going to have a little bit easier. You have all the options later on to expand, but a little bit easier if you feel like it, if you want to sort of dip your toe in it.
yeah.
Not that Firebase, you can then leave it there, like you've proven. I mean, you know, the servers have all the options. Maybe you don't need the big stuff because you're only a $10 million company, right? And you're not a $300 billion company.
For most applications, from the smallest to quite large, you know, this has everything you need. And where it falls short, you've got Google Cloud right there backing you up. So.
Meg, you had a question earlier. Do you still have that question?
Oh yeah, well, I was just earlier, I found about the dynamic hosting.
Oh, you posted a link here.
Yeah,
This is
so
what
right
you.
in there, it looks like
Oh,
basically you write a function, a cloud function, and in the firebase.json file, it says add the following rewrite configuration. This is under step 3. Add the following rewrite configuration under the hosting section. So it like sends the HTTP request to that specific URL, and it triggers that function.
so here, like, you can use Express using Cloud Functions, and this is in the Firebase docs, right? So it's not like, you know, somebody's like, psst, hey, here's a way to, you know, it's Firebase saying, hey, you can host dynamic content. So yeah, I have run into this before. So this is pretty cool.
Nice,
I have never
nice
tried
find,
this.
Meg. Nice find.
Yeah.
I did have a question. You mentioned briefly about the real-time database versus Cloud Firestore. And that's what I messed around with before a little bit. And you said like Cloud Firestore is what you're mainly going to go with. But what's the actual difference between the two?
Yeah. So Firebase, which is the original real-time database. So when you go to, when you go to database here, um, they've actually made it a little more confusing, and they have here real-time database or cloud Firestore, right? So what we used to call Firebase, they're now calling real-time database, and it is crazy fast. It is a little bit faster than Firestore. So if what you need is speed and simplicity, it's awesome. Where it really lacks is in the ability to query and filter data. It has abilities to query and to filter, but Firestore has much more robust querying and filtering capabilities and tools. So what's really recommended in Firebase is, because it's so crazy fast, it basically, you can grab your entire database as a JSON object in JavaScript and have it available instantly, because it's that fast. It'll return, the entire database as a JSON object, and JavaScript's like, okay, cool, got it, like instantly. It instantly. I can't even emphasize that enough. It is right there for you. It's real time. But what they recommend is if you want to do any kind of filtering or querying, is just grab the whole database and filter it in JavaScript. Well, if you have a really big database, that's not practical, right? So it's really good if you know exactly where the data is you're looking for. If you know, like, oh, I'm looking for order number 75, right? You could grab order 75 and have that instantly available. But if you're like, okay, find me all of the orders where, that contain, 3 teacups or more, right? Now these real-time databases aren't meant for querying like that. So they created Firestore, which allows you to do querying and filtering, and for larger databases, it makes a lot more sense. It's not quite as fast as the real-time database, but this is the one case where Firebase doesn't just infinitely scale. It's like, if you start with Firestore, you're good to go. But if you start with Firebase, somewhere down the lines, you're going to get to your project and be like, shit, I should have started with Firestore. And I've talked to countless people that have said that, which is why I'm guessing Google put this here, like, create database, and they've like, or use a real-time database, and it's like, you have to, it's below the fold here, right?
Yeah.
For small little things, it's amazing though. Like, it's crazy. You like can store so much data in there, and then on your front end, you're like, okay, grab that data and then display it here. And it's like, you're like, grab that, and you're like, oh crap, it's already there. It's boom. It's lightning fast.
So
but
it's like, basically, if you have a finite amount of data, you're not going to be adding anything else to it.
mm-hmm.
And like, okay, that could work, but for scaling purposes, it's not good.
If you're building a website for, a restaurant or a small local bakery, right? They're only going to have this much data, right? For their menu, let's say. But what if they want to start storing, every customer and every order that customer has ever placed? Now you want to be able to query and search the data and filter. That's Firestore, right?
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I also had another question for you, like, just like the Google Cloud in general. I know that the conference that Next on Air is starting, like, next week.
Yeah. What is that? What is Next on Air?
That's
Google's. Tell us.
I just put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Like this 9-week conference.
Yeah.
I was wondering if anybody here is going to it and what sessions. I haven't gone to it, and there's like a lot to look at, and it's just, you know, information overload. So if there's
Well, I've never been to this conference, but the one thing I would say is if, you know, if you're kind of new to Google Cloud, stick to the introductory stuff, even though there's going to be a lot of other sexy stuff like machine learning and, you know, new features that are coming out next year. Try and stay with the basics, like, you know, Google Cloud 1, 2, 3, you know, kind of stuff. So you can learn the basics of Google Cloud. And then next year, when you're a Google Cloud expert, you come in and you go into some more of the advanced sessions, right?
yeah.
See, now you're telling me. I keep looking at the keynote, have all the fun stuff, and go like, okay, I'm done. And that's it. But no, I think it'd be fantastic to go.
Yeah, and this is all free. So
yeah, and it goes on for weeks. Look at this: August 18th, September 8th, right? So it's 9 weeks.
But this one's usually more about like infrastructure and things like that, if I remember this right. I remember when that guy, when Thomas had just joined, you know, I love that. And CEO of Google Cloud. It's like, oh, CEO of Google? No. That doesn't exist anymore.
Wait, move your cursor. Oh,
yeah, exactly. But he presented one which was software. We didn't end up using it where I was working before, but that would allow you to push into this one platform, one infrastructure in one way that you can instantly push to Google, Azure, and AWS. And you know what that's for. That's so you grab all your AWS stuff, move it to this way so that you can instantly, once you see Todd's presentation that we just move it to the Google Cloud. You know what I mean?
It was very easy to migrate from AWS to Google Cloud when I did it.
Yeah. Excellent.
One thing, you know, just since we're here, I want to show you guys a couple things you might like. One of the and I always forget that you can search these, but there's
in just a bit on that page.
Say
again?
Could you zoom in just a bit on that page?
Yeah.
Which part do you want to see? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that that'll zoom this too, right? Is that better?
Thank you.
Yeah. So you know, some of the things that people use a lot are App Engine, Compute Engine, the Cloud Functions, obviously. You know, here's Firestore, right? Google Storage, which blows away S3 on AWS. I've done a ton of testing. It is 4 to 20 times faster. Data transfer, so you can easily transfer your stuff. And then a couple of things I want to show you. Cloud Build, which I'll get to in a second. Cloud Tasks, where you can actually so let's say you have to hit somebody else's API, but you're rate limited. You can use Cloud Tasks where you can send these tasks as fast as you want, but have them trickle out to the other API. And it'll only remove them from the queue once they've successfully completed, which is really nice. But this source repositories, they have their own source repository like GitHub here. And you can use it, and it's a really nice interface for looking through your source. And you can even mirror GitHub repos here in Google Cloud, so you can have like when you push to GitHub, it automatically picks it up and pulls it into your source repo here, which you can also do that in Cloud Build. So if you have when you go to deploy, Cloud Build will actually create a Docker container, build your application in it, and deploy that container automatically for you. And you can actually set up triggers like when I push to GitHub master branch, build this project for me and deploy it to this place. So this is awesome for CI/CD without having to learn Jenkins or some crazy software like that. You can just set up these triggers. They're super easy to set up and have it automatically do things like continuous deployment for you. And I mean, the list just goes on, like these pub subs, which are amazing. IoT, I mean, it just goes on and on. Like healthcare and life, like all this stuff, AI, natural language. The Google Vision is super powerful, right? This, will look at a photo and tell you what's in it. Is the person smiling? What is their gender, their age, their, racial makeup, everything. It'll even tell you what kind of, what breed your dog is. It's and now they have video as well. They'll process video.
What if you don't wear makeup? Not that I aren't.
So yeah, I mean, I could sit here all night, obviously, and sing Google Cloud's praises, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Unless you have any other questions.
Thank you so much. This was really great.
Thanks for all your questions, Meg. You helped make it more interactive.
I think so.
Always good for questions.
What do you think? What question we're going to have? Thank you. First of all, thank you, Todd. That was fantastic. This is Damien.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome as always. Thank you all for coming join us. Please don't let me stop you if you want to say something right now. I'm not wrapping up for any reason other than I think my dinner's ready. You know what I mean? And
I know I'm smelling my dinner like,
So we do this once a month. We're now doing this at the last Tuesday of the month and the first Tuesday of the month, only because we're joining with Palm Beach JS. Check out Todd, myself, and others at the Palm Beach Tech Slack channel. That's palmbeachtech.org/Slack. You can ask direct questions in the future of anything you heard or anything at all. We have a great developer group there that has questions and answers, and we're waiting for you to come over and answer it, and then we'll be able to do something for you if you have some questions as well. Thank you guys. Thank you, Todd. That was awesome. I'm totally blown away by that speed. You've said it a million times, but that's not.
It's different when you see it, right?
You 100%.
I've been telling you forever that Google Cloud is so fast, but when
I go to my website, it comes up. I mean, it comes up instantly. Come on, what are you talking about? You're absolutely right. That was amazing.
and it's the reliability I've found on Google Cloud. Every cloud platform has gone down at some point. Bye, Craig. Thanks so much. They all. Bye, Ruben. Have a good night.
Thank you. Just saying thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. They all go down from time to time. AWS goes down and 80% of the internet goes down, right?
It's amazing, yeah.
But Google goes down. It's not often. It's happened before.
Yeah.
But it's happened like 4 times in the last 10 years or something.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan, and I'm not like a Google guy. I don't have an Android phone, but I really, since I compare, I compared AWS and Google, and one was a clear winner, and it's just gotten better and better since I've been using it, and I've been using it now for 3-4 years.
I remember when you first found it. I remember you just wouldn't stop prophesizing it. No, preferably. Prophesizing. English is not my first language, and even if it was, that's how I speak. So,
oh, good,
guys.
Meetups, have you always done them online, or have you at least streamed them online?
So. We do, Meg. Thanks for the question. So BocaJS and Palm Beach JS always usually have them at the locations. We always meet at the Sendime Spaces, which is Glades and US 1, just south of there. We do it on the first Tuesday of the month. Because of the COVID-19, of course, we're doing this live. But even when we have them at an actual location, and Todd has presented at that location before, even when we do have that up at those locations, I always make sure to push it onto YouTube at youtube.com/BocaJS. Unfortunately,
is it live on YouTube or is it delayed?
It is live. It goes live on both YouTube and Twitch. And we don't. We're having some trouble today, so you might have. You might bear with me as I try to, find out what's going on and re-upload it. But normally it is literally live. So if you cannot join us wherever the location is, you can always join us on YouTube.com/. You can go youtube.com/BocaJS/live, You can do it right now, and you can actually see that you can see the video, but you can't see the audio. I'm working on that. Don't worry about it. We'll have it re-uploaded there. But usually it is live, Meg. So you cannot join when this does get back to normal, 2021 or whenever this happens. We will be having live get-togethers with pizzas and sponsors and all that because it's sort of
Glades.
Yes. So it's Sendine's Places, just south of Glades in US
Places.
1. Glades?
And Sendine's Places?
Sendine Places.
Spaces.
Spaces. Now you got me. Now you got me talking. I thought I said
just
spaces.
trying to trip you up.
Yeah.
So I just want to give another quick plug too. I told you guys that we just launched our new website, which I gotta show off because it's really awesome. But
it's beautiful design.
On it, yeah, I'm really pleased. Thank you. We have these courses that we're offering right now. Like, we've got 2 coming up in August, game dev, which we do VR, AR, mobile, everything. Intro web dev. So if you know anybody who's like just starting out, wants like a very introductory course, these are both a week long. We have in September a rock star, Emily Cleary, teaching a intro UX design course that's a week long. I don't know of any UX courses in this format that are they're either usually like 1 hour or they're 10 weeks. So we're doing a 40-hour UX course, and then also over a weekend in October, we're doing data analytics in Python. We also have a React course and a JavaScript course that we do. I don't have these scheduled yet coming up. We're gonna figure out a time to do those, but please check them out and let people know if you guys know people who want to learn. Please send them our way.
And they're safe virtually, so you don't have to walk into a school, right?
For now, we're doing everything. Yeah, we're doing everything over online, virtual, and eventually when we open the school, we'll limit the capacity of the school greatly, like to 1/3, and until things are safe. So we're just going to follow CDC guidelines, not like our governors or anyone cares to do, but I'm the scientist, so I'm going to play it safe.
That, or we're going to meet where Dennis is.
I've barely left my house since February, so
there you go. If not,
Dennis is trying to get me to meet him for coffee. I'm like, it's like the cases in Florida are going like this. I'm like, I got a great coffee maker here. We'll meet on Zoom.
So tell him, it's not like we're drinking the same coffee. You're going to drink a coffee, and I'm going to drink a coffee. The difference.
Meg, where are you from?
A couple of inches.
I'm in the Philly suburbs.
Oh wow! So how did you stumble upon us?
Meetup.com.
Nice.
Since everybody, like a lot of meetups were moving online for the pandemic, I just searched like JavaScript, Ruby, like programming just everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We actually, Damien kind of like downplays BocaJS, but even though it's called BocaJS, so you'd think, oh, it's small and regional. It's at least at one point, I don't know if it still holds the title, but at one point it was the largest tech meetup group in the state of Florida. Is it still, Damien?
It still is. It still is.
Like
So it's no, he talks about like, oh yeah, we're this tiny little group. We get.
Yeah. I just joined it, so you got one more.
Excellent.
Nice.
Now we have one more. We finally beat them. Yeah. Thank you, Meg.
And I just joined.
Nice. Now we have double meeting. Yeah.
Nice.
I saw that you're from Pennsylvania when I went to connect. I connected with you on LinkedIn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Damien's very humble, but he runs an impressive ship here.
I'm copying my dad, and he outweighs me and all that. I think I had the most we've had was about 80 people. I think the most he's had was 300 people. So wow. I have a bit to catch up.
That's really
at any one time. I'm saying.
Are a lot of
those
you guys
big shoes to fill?
Yes.
Are you guys a lot of you guys in Palm Beach Tech?
We are definitely, yes. We're part of Palm Beach Tech. Dennis, was that the question? Are we part of Palm Beach Tech?
No, 'cause when I got down here, I joined Tech Lauderdale, but I realized they were more IT operators, and I like Palm Beach Tech for I like them both, but I like Palm Beach Tech.
Yeah. So yes, Tech Lauderdale. It's because they originally were mainly running a more of an IT conference.
Their CIO breakfast and their CIO.
Right.
I found out about them. I used to come down to this. I come down yearly for a St. Patrick's Day party that my brother's firm runs, and I caught the state of the CIO before I came down here, and then I got involved with Tech Lauderdale, but with IT Palooza and all that, I'm not. I worked at IBM Research for 25 years. I'm not into. I understand. So this was good. I went to Boca. I actually took some courses at FAU, so I like being up in this area. So I'll be back up in the Boca area right now.
Sorry, Dennis.
No, go ahead.
What Dennis was just referring to, Palm Beach Tech. It's actually they're rebranding it now to South Florida Tech, but it's a nonprofit organization that's kind of like bringing all of the tech people in South Florida together, and under a single umbrella, under like a community. And it's the development community here in South Florida is really there's nothing else like it. It is a community. It's very supportive. Larry and I have only met maybe once or twice in person, but we're on the Palm Beach Tech Slack, helping each other, and a lot of the other people that it's really a really cool community that we've created down here, and everyone helping everyone. It's not competitive like the like you get out west in Silicon Valley and so forth.
That's a whole other animal out there.
Yeah.
And just to follow up, Todd, you're right. It's called South Beach now. South Florida. I like still referring to it as Palm Beach Tech because it kind of gives a Boca locality. But Joe Russo and Nikki Cabas are the two people that are just. Nikki's super, just getting out there and getting events, pushed. They're both good people, so it's a good group. And I used to like the Monday night networking sessions up down in West Palm Beach and other places, and they were used. There were some good talks there, and that was also
no question about it. When they had their monthly meetings, I think because they would do once or monthly or bi-monthly or like every 2 months, probably what I'm trying to say. And those were the only ones that were done much bigger than ours, and it was just a nice variety of every kind of person related to technology. Not just developers and all that.
In fact, one of the more fun events was for their 5th anniversary, they had some golf pitch and putt new place off near the West Palm Beach Airport. And there was like 75 people there, and they had they were celebrating, and it was a nice.
Were you at that event?
Yeah,
I was there too.
Oh,
That's where I met Jen, who was our operations manager.
But I was there with. I'm forgetting some of the names, but there was a good crowd of people. I know a lot of that crowd. So, that was a fun afternoon. It was really, it was really sort of pitch and putt. It was more social and video. I never played a pitch and putt golf where it was really more, you could do blackjack and other things. It really had no tie to how far, but it was one of the fun events. I'm looking forward to getting back to the real world, but Todd, we'll do a Zoom coffee someday.
Yep.
Guys, on the chat channel, I put in the meetup palmbeachtech.org/meetups, and you'll see a lot of these events, Meg, for the other great locations around here. Do share,
this
please.
Is new, huh?
Yes, and you'll see how beautiful it is. They're trying to get in, your kind of level of design, Todd, from your website. But you'll see that there's a lot of the meetups. Exactly.
This website encompasses South Florida area.
Yes.
Meetups.
Yes.
Okay.
So it should include things like the big one, which is the Miami JS, which is not as big as mine, but it does encompass those. I should be there. If not, I'll ask them.
Damien, did they just add this tech the
yes.
meetup?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
I was always being Nikki. I said it's hard to find. I'd have to look on Facebook and search like the feeds to figure out when the next event was. And
yes.
this is great because I kept on looking at the calendar and it was like one event. It was like a Christmas party from 2018 or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah, this is brilliant.
It is. So this is just the groups, and I don't know if they have the events next to them. I don't have it open right here, but also their calendars now have every one of the events from all our different groups in there, including the events from them that they're just ramping up. And you're right, Dennis, that Nikki is just hitting out of the ballpark, much better organizer than anybody I know, and just does an amazing work. And so you see a lot of events where Todd has presented before for Palm Beach.
I'm a friend of her. I got invited to some premiere of a Star Wars show up in at Christmas time.
Cool.
One of the Palm Beach members, they had like, you know, a private showing at 7 o'clock the hour before the kickoff for Star Wars. And
Yeah,
it was nice. It's a good crowd of people. It's a good crowd.
awesome.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So, is there like a Rails community at all down there?
There used to be one in Broward that was pretty good. I don't follow Rails very well, but I thought there was. It should be in there. If not, I mean, you can always go to, Meetup. The trick is to put the word in front of the word Meetup, so rails.meetup.com, and then you'll try to find something related to that. And he'll start things around you.
Damien Umberto, who was in earlier, doesn't he a Rails guy?
Enrique, you mean, or Umberto?
Yeah.
And Enrique's not. He's
Enrique.
changed. We've changed him to Node and JavaScript.
Converted
So
him.
okay, that's it. Forget about it.
Yeah, Meg. There's not a lot of Rails. Not to say there's none,
Here,
but it's less common in South Florida. There's certain technologies like, there's definitely a geography of it.
Mhm.
And in South Florida, there's just not a lot of people, a lot of companies using Rails. So, you get individual developers doing Rails projects for sure, but you don't get a lot of big companies using Rails down here. So there's not a big community for it.
That's what I found in the Philly area too. It's like
Yeah.
New York, DC, and Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only places I know of.
it was big in Silicon Valley. I used to live there. When I was working at Skype, I used to live there, and yeah, it was huge. But of course, Silicon Valley, everything's huge, right? I'm a C# developer by trade. I mean, that's what I do as to make money. I would love to be a JavaScript developer, but I only do that in the front end at my work. I don't even do that anymore. Now I do what Todd does, so the IT. Well, now you're a teacher. Now you can't say that I do what you're doing. One day I'll be, I'll mature and do what Todd does and teach for a living. But
when Boca Code's big enough, we'll have you and Jerbo
sure.
as and we'll do our whole education thing, right?
Awesome. I'm in. I'm going to retire and work with you all my life, man. No problem. I just got to make that $1 million first, and then. But sounds amazing, Todd. That would be a dream. Yeah. So you're right. Every single thing was there, and yes, there was a lot of Ruby on Rails. Absolutely, Meg. Absolutely. But like you've mentioned, and by the way, you're my hero because I was said I was going to do what you said. You went and you found us. I'm sure you found other great meetup groups and all that. So I tend to want to do the same thing. There's some amazing things in New York, amazing things in San Francisco that I'm signed up, and you can join them. This is an amazing time. So this is the benefit of everybody being locked in the house.
Yeah, just kind of go traveling from my couch.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, right now you don't want to come to Florida.
Yeah, no.
Bye, Dad. See you later.
No.
I enjoyed my time in Center City, Philly. So
That's good.
There's another group, Phoenix JavaScript, like Phoenix, Arizona, and that's another really good meetup group. If you happen to be a late night coder, since I think it's
a couple hours behind you.
I think they're 3 hours behind.
Well, but the problem, Meg, is they don't have Damien there, so
It's okay.
it's not as fun.
And he doesn't have his t-shirt on. Look,
Yeah.
I belong to this group. Meg, do me a favor, just put any kind of name on the chat. I would love to hear about this group. If you think it's a good group, I'd love to find out more about it. Just you don't have to give me the exact URL. Give me something to go by, and I'll go search it.
I'm sure if you search Phoenix JS, right, you'll find it.
So it's the Phoenix, like, by the way, an unbelievable one, and I don't know if they're doing anything lately, is Ottawa JS. Ottawa JS
Ottawa
is spectacular. Ottawa A, exactly. Ottawa JS.
It's Ottawa JSA.
JSA. And JSX, and they are spectacular. You'll see the website. You'll see all of a sudden that, oh no, my website looks different now. Okay, well, it used to originally look like Ottawa JS. The other one is Brooklyn. I believe Brooklyn JS, just spectacular. But they haven't. None of them have taken the plunge and to go to live. I mean, I work with a team in India, so with the moment we were working from home, I said, well, let's do the same thing Zoom. But none of the other ones have done so much. So, but I'll check out Phoenix JS, but if we're naming some great ones.
If you aren't familiar with that already, get Zoom together and everything.
Oh, one of the tricky things with finding it is there's a framework, JavaScript framework called Phoenix.
Yes.
So when I'm searching for Phoenix JS, I'm getting that.
I'm trying to. I have the.
Wow, 3,000 members. All right, that's even meeting mine. So it was meetup.com/Phoenix-JavaScript. Why does everybody use those long names?
Hey, Damien, is there a way in these meetings before they disappear to save the chat session, or at least to some of the URLs?
Yes. Down in the chat.
Is that what that file?
If you click the 3 dots, if you click the ellipsis, or the kebab menu, then there's a save chat button, and it'll drop it to a text file for you.
Wow.
Okay, good. Because I was looking, there's some good URLs here. So okay.
I actually have a list of other area meetups in there too. In their meetup group, if you drop down the about, there's just a whole list of Phoenix TypeScript, Node.az, ng PHX, Phoenix React JS. But it's just a matter of, are they active still? Because it says 3,000 members, but the last 2 I went to was a dozen people there. So.
Oh my God, I know someone there. What is he doing there? Oh my God. I know someone.
Meg, I see your face.
Are you there too? No, I didn't mean you. I meant there's a friend of mine that's from San Francisco, and I guess he may have been doing the same thing.
My wife's name is Megan, and every time I'm like, Meg, she's like, stop it. All right, guys, I'm gonna bail, but it was great talking to you guys. Thanks again, Damien, for having us.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you guys for joining us. Meg, thanks for joining us from so far away. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. Great talk.
Ciao.
Appreciate it.
I think it's a good time for all of us to go. If you guys want to stick around, that's all you. But otherwise, I think we'll do it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Meg. Thank you.